welcome to Overtime Hockey Talk. My name is Mark Paul. My co-host Justin Baker and I are breaking down the top 20 wingers on today's show. If you didn't hear us break down the top 20 centers, head back, listen to that, subscribe to the show. And just a caveat, top 20 players at their position in the playoffs. That's an important caveat. NHL.com put out their top 20s, and there was like 5 players from the playoffs. It was stupid. Just take them out. Take the Kings and the Sharks out, and worry about them, like you said earlier. Worry about them in October when you do these lists again after the playoffs end, and we've got a quick turnaround. With that said, we're just going to jump right into it because we are going to do. We've got 4 shows this week ranking all the positions, so we just want to jump right into it. If you haven't listened to that center one, head on over. But otherwise, we are going to do some wingers right now. And Justin, you have any just missed wingers on your top 20 wingers in the playoffs?
I've got one guy. That is Johnny Gaudreau, a guy who is a little bit of a disappointment.
Your list. Dang.
Missed my list. Yes, when I look at right now this Calgary Flames team, a little bit of a disappointing year. I'm not sure if they can rebound. I know they had a lot of injuries. And everybody had banner years last year, but I don't know if they can rebound, if they can find that scoring touch. And, we'll see come these playoffs. But for me, he's on the outside looking in right now.
Okay. I don't have a just miss list, so we're just going to move to my number 20. And that is Jake Getzel at 20. I've got Claude Giroux, the former center turned winger, at 19. And I have Elias Pettersson's better half, JT Miller.
I love it. Yeah, I got all these guys on my list as well. Maybe a little bit different order than you. For me at number 20, I've got a guy who probably didn't make your list, but I really like this guy's game, and he could be the key for Montreal, and that is Thomas Tatar at number 20.
Holy crap! Thomas Tatar,
yes.
Made your list?
Yes.
Tartar
61
sauce.
Points.
Wow.
61 points in 68 games. This guy is stirring.
He did have an underrated season. You were right.
Yes, absolutely. And again, at number 19, I've got Patrick Laine, a guy who is fully capable of scoring 40 goals. Not really sure where he's going to fit in the lineup, if he's going to be on the top line, if he's going to play on that second line with who knows who at center. Now that, Brian Little is not going to be there. And then at number 18, I've got Jake Gensel, a guy who last year scoring 40 goals, 20 through 39 games this year, and could potentially be another 40-goal scorer next season if he stays healthy. So for me, that is my first 3 on the list.
Yeah, I kept Getzel a little bit down. I mean, he is coming off an injury. We'll see what he looks like. He should be fine, but I also think, as far as needed to be good, like Claude Giroux better be darn good for the Flyers. JT Miller needs to be great for the Canucks. Like, the Canucks don't have a whole lot else outside of that top line. I know you've got Bo Horvat, you've got other nice pieces, but I think it all starts and ends with that top line. If you can shut that top line down, Vancouver isn't going to go very far.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all.
Okay, so let's go 17 through 15 then.
All right, at 17 for me, you've talked about him, JT Miller. This is a guy who has to be great. I love his game. He kind of reminds me a little bit of a Ryan O'Reilly, the way he plays his game, a little hard. Got plenty of speed and plays on both ends of the ice very well. Yeah,
pretty nice snag by the Canucks to take him from Tampa, where he was, sometimes those guys that are buried in a lineup that you can tell they have talent, sometimes they go somewhere else and you put them up in the lineup and all of a sudden they're not as good because now they're playing against better competition on a regular basis. But JT Miller, man, he was just someone who was stuck in that Tampa Bay system and was just... He's just so good, but they have so many guys ahead of him, and he comes to Vancouver, and he's really shown that, wow, what an investment, giving up that first-round pick. And that first-round pick now, likely, at least for Vancouver's sake, hopefully... Wait, that pick was for last year's draft, right? It's not for this year.
Yes, it was.
Okay, yeah. All right. I was like, well, Vancouver loses, maybe it turns into something better, but no.
Although it is Vancouver's spot that has the number 11 right now, so we'll see who gets that number 1 overall pick.
Oh, I thought it was Winnipeg.
Was it? Maybe.
I think it was Winnipeg. Yeah, it was Winnipeg. That's okay. Same thing.
All right. At number 16, a guy who had a bounce-back year, 32 goals in 71 games. That's Max Pacioretty. I love his game. Vegas is going to rely on him heavily, along with another winger here a little bit later on my list. Hopefully you have him on your list a little further down as well. And then at number 15 for me, Kyle Connor, probably one of the more underrated wingers in the NHL, because when you talk about like names, you think of Patrick Laine, you think of Blake Wheeler first, but you don't really think of Kyle Connor when you think of the Winnipeg Jets.
I mean, 38 goals, man.
Yes. And 34 last year.
Yeah, he's a 30 goal. He's like a 30, 35 goal scorer every year. I mean, that's just who he's going to be. Yeah, I totally
per game
agree.
And average 21 minutes of ice time a game. So he'll be relied upon heavily with Mark Scheifele. And, who knows who else they're going to put up on that wing there. Maybe Blake Wheeler, maybe they throw him back at center, who knows. But a guy from good old Michigan. So Kyle Connor for me comes in at 15.
Okay. My 17's a guy who just missed your list. That's Johnny Gaudreau. I can't not put him on this list. I mean, he did have a bad year. I think something was going on with him, the situation there. Maybe it was all the stuff with the Bill Peters. I don't know, but he did not have a good year. I'm expecting that he goes in and is much better in these playoffs. Like, here's your opportunity. Don't blow it. I just, based off his talent alone, I can't keep him off this list. If I'm looking at this and I go, do I want Johnny Gaudreau or JT Miller on my team? I'm taking Johnny Gaudreau. There's no doubt about it. No doubt. Even though he had a bad year, I want Johnny Gaudreau. I think that he can be a difference maker, and I think he's had the losses in the playoffs enough to be like, okay, this needs to be my year. I'm excited to see if he can kind of put it all together in the playoffs. So he's my 17. 16, I have the same Max Pacioretty. And 15, a guy a little lower on your list, which is Patrick Laine. I think his defensive game has shored up. He is finally being relied upon in more dangerous situations. And, he has the trust of his head coach now. And so that's a big thing. And he's really changed his game from last year to this year, and I think that maybe he'll only take another step here in these playoffs, and I'm looking forward to seeing Laine do that.
All right, love it.
All right, 14 through 12.
All right, 14 for me. I've got a guy on the Calgary Flames. This is another winger who I think is the future captain leader of this team. That is Matthew Tkachuk. I love his game, and if you talk about Gaudreau or Tkachuk, I would take Tkachuk all day over Gaudreau. Hands down.
That's why I have Tkachuk higher than Gaudreau.
That a boy. Not quite the banner years last year, 61 points through 69 games. So still freaking good in terms of points.
I feel like just a weird year for the Flames overall. Like, everyone had a down year. Everyone had an up year last year, and then this year everyone had a down year. So it's hard to compare.
And not even necessarily a bad year when you talk about, his point percentage. But again, I expect this guy to hit the reset button, much like hopefully a lot of the Calgary Flames will try to do. And he should come out like guns ablaze and ready to go. Number 13 for me, Claude Giroux. You talked about him a little bit. This guy, I think, is, could be better. I expect a little bit more from him now that he's moved from center to wing. Had a couple really good seasons the last 2 years. This year, again, a little bit of a down year, much like guys on the Calgary Flames. But hopefully kind of bounces back come playoff times, because Philly's going to need him to. And at number 12 for me, a guy who, to me, isn't necessarily considered a trade acquisition, but I think for the St. Louis Blues, they'll kind of look at it that way. A guy coming back healthy after only playing 10 games this year, that's Vladimir Tarasenko.
Yeah, huge comeback there for Tarasenko to be able to play in these playoffs. Man, what a difference he'll make. He's actually my 14.
Beautiful.
And Tkachuk is 13, and Kyle Connor is 12. So I've got Connor quite a bit higher as well. I just think that he's so important to the Jets. Really, I mean, when you look at this Jets-Flames series, like, whoever loses this series is, like, there's going to be some repercussions for losing this series.
Some shakeups.
Yeah, there has to be. Like, somebody's going to get moved because of a loss. And a win will probably solidify this group enough, especially if they can win one more, like, past our traditional first round. That'll really help. But whoever loses this round, it's going to be trouble in paradise for that team, especially I think if it's the Flames. If it's the Jets, I think there's a little bit of an excuse. You lost Bufflin. You had a lot of injuries this year. You just had a weird year. But if it's the Flames, man, I just don't see how they keep this entire group together. I just don't. Because that would be,
and they're going to be losing. a lot of pieces on the back end too.
Yeah. So you've got a chance maybe to hit the reset button there for Calgary too. I don't think it'll be an all-out rebuild or anything, but we'll say a retooling, as a few general managers have liked to say throughout the years.
Yeah, Kenny Howland liked to use that one in Detroit a lot.
Yeah. Okay, let's go 11 through 9.
All right. At 11 for me, speaking of Jets Flames, I've got Blake Wheeler. This guy's got the intangibles that I love in, just a leader, right? You talk about a guy that plays hard, goes hard every minute of every game. Maybe not as offensively, not an offensive up year in terms of his production compared to the last 2 years, but I still think come playoff times he's gonna bring it, and there's gonna be no doubt that he's not going to be relied upon in Winnipeg. At number 10 for me, probably one of my favorite wingers, and I want to put him higher on this just because this is how much I love his game, and think he should have got the best defensive forward last year, and that is Mark Stone for the Las Vegas Golden Knights. This guy, 63 points in 65 games. He's he can put a few pucks in the back of the net. He's good for 25 every single year, just about, it seems like. And then at number 9. Top 10 in scoring in the league. Well, actually, at number 10, he's got a tremendous center to play with. This guy's got speed to burn. That's Jonathan, as I called him last show, Huberdeau.
You good old Huberdeau. Yeah, with regards to Mark Stone, it just got me thinking that the Vegas Golden Knights, I think Mark Stone's their only winger that's on my top 20. I had no Golden Knights on my top 20 centers. I have one on my top 20 defensemen, which we will do. You'll find that show later in the week, and then I have 2 of their goaltenders on my top 15. They don't have a ton of star power, yet they are a lot of people's picks to win the cup this year.
Yeah, they get it done by committee. There's no doubt about it. I mean, they've got a couple really good top 2 lines that can really roll, and I think maybe especially their banner year where they went to the cup final, I think maybe if they had that key piece back on defense, or maybe one more guy, maybe could have put them over the top.
Yeah, I feel like it's the reason why they won't win the cup this year. They just don't have the high end talent that so many other teams have. Okay, I'll go my 11-9. I got Mikko Rantanen at 11.
Okay,
I have him outside the top 10, and then Blake Wheeler starts my 10, and same guy as you, Mark Stone, number 9. Again, I was the same way. I was like, I want to put him higher, but I just don't think that I can. Like, you start getting into the top 8, and you've got some pretty damn good players. Rantanen slipped out the top 10. Just, I think based on the fact that who he generally gets to play with. I know that there were times when he wasn't playing with McKinnon. There was a lot of times that he was. I would just like to see what he can do in these playoffs. I think based on all the other guys ahead of him, I look at them and I go, I know you're going to produce in the playoffs. I know you're going to be good. And Rantanen is the one guy that I go, can you take over in the playoffs? And I think that's something that we haven't seen yet. And so we'll see that. And he did have some injuries this year. So that could play a factor in it as well.
Yep. All right.
Into the top 8. Let's go 8, 7, 6.
All right. At number 8, you just mentioned him, Mikko Rantanen, a guy who, last year in the playoffs looked really, really good. 14 points in 12 games. I think he's doomed to repeat, and I don't say doomed in a bad way because I think it's doomed for the rest of the league. Because
the Flames just couldn't stop him last year.
And I don't think anybody's going to be able to either. He gets healthy, Landeskog gets healthy, Grubauer gets healthy. I think with all these healthy pieces around him, and now they have the ability to roll another line with, Kadri on that second line center position to maybe give him some time to, get off the ice so he doesn't have to play 25 minutes a night. That's going to be key to keep him healthy and keep his wheels going. So I think he's going to be great come these playoffs. At number 7, hopefully he's on your list here somewhere, but Mitch Marner for me, I love this guy. He could be...
He did make my list, by the way. I managed to sneak him in there.
This guy, kind of a down year in terms of production. I wouldn't call it a down year because he still put up 67 and 59 games, but
his best year ever was his down year.
Coming off a 94-point season last year. This guy is somebody who I think has the potential to help propel Toronto over that hump to get going. I think 4 points in 7 games last year, it's okay, but I fully expected a little bit more, and I think we're gonna see it because I think this Toronto team is going to be very, very hungry, and he's going to be one of the guys ready to scoop up some goals here. And then at number 6, Brad Marchand, obviously a guy who is capable of producing a lot of goals, a lot of points for this team. He's been just on fire the last few seasons. He's kept it rolling this year with 87 points in 70 games, and we know what he's done in the playoffs. He produced 23 in 24 games last year, and he's more than capable of doing that again. So for me, he comes in at number 6.
Yeah, he's insane. And it doesn't hurt that he's who he's playing with. Jonathan Huberdeau is my number 8. I think he is no doubt the most underrated winger in the NHL. Like, he's been good for a long time, and yes, he gets to play with Barkov, but I really think some of the reason why Barkov looks like he's so darn good is because of Huberdeau. He can skate. He was kind of the super fast winger before being a super fast winger was cool. He can do so much. He's not undersized. He uses his size, and I think that, Florida's got a good chance against the Islanders, and I think that it's because of the star power that they have up front in Huberdeau and Barkov, and it'll be fun to see them go at it in the playoffs. So he's my number 8. I've got Brad Marchand at 7.
Okay.
And then Alexander Ovechkin at 6.
Wow, maybe a little lower.
I have Ovechkin and Marchand outside the top 5. Marchand slightly because I do have another Bruin that is in the top 5. So that played a little bit of a factor. I'm going on the guy who I think maybe makes the absolute biggest impact for that line. I put him in the top 5. Marchand, he certainly is the heart behind a lot of things. I think that there's also he occasionally can get himself in a little bit of trouble, and sometimes that plays to their advantage, but sometimes it can hurt them. And actually, last year in the playoffs, that top line did not do as well as you'd think they did against like Austin Matthews and against Mitch Marner. They struggled at times in that series. So I think that if you can match them for their star power, I think you have a shot. So I'm just putting Marchand a little bit lower just because I think there's better guys on his line. And Ovechkin outside the top 5. I just think that he's somewhat of a one-dimensional player. Especially at this point. And that one dimension is better than everybody. Like, there's no doubt it's better than everybody, than anyone else can do in terms of goal scoring. But still is one-dimensional, and just as a player alone, I think is just slightly outside the top 5 based on what some of these other guys can do. So with that said, let's head on into your top 5.
Yeah, number 5 for me, I've got Alexander Ovechkin. You kind of mentioned it a little bit. Again, he's a little bit more one-dimensional than most guys, but you know what? I love his game. I love his leadership.
I'll take his one dimension all day.
That's fine. Absolutely. His drive is insane. I think he goes hard just about as hard as anybody else in the league. Obviously I couldn't have been more excited to see him get his cup, and he still produced last year 9 points in 7 games for the Capitals, and I still think he's more than capable of being a point-per-game player in the playoffs. So hopefully he continues that, because I would like to see him go a little bit deeper this year. And then at number 4 for me, I've got Nikita Kucherov from the Tampa Bay Lightning. This guy's coming off a couple 100-point seasons. Only 85 points in 68 games and still 33 goals, so not too shabby. Probably with a full season would have been capable of maybe touching 100 points and 40 goals again, which would have been just phenomenal.
I'm surprised you have him so low. Like, that seems very low for Kucherov. I don't know.
Yeah, I thought about it, but when I look at Kucherov compared to the guys ahead of him on my list, I think, okay, these guys ahead of him are guys that drive lines. Not to say that Kucherov doesn't, but these guys don't necessarily always play, with guys that drive the offense for them, right? These guys are always driving the offense, whereas Kucherov gets to play with guys like Braden Point and Stamkos that help drive the offense for him.
Not his fault.
No, not at all. And you can't blame him. So, so he comes.
Okay, so he's your number 4.
He's my number 4. Yeah.
Okay, so my 5 is Mitch Marner. I threw him in the top 5. I really think that when it comes to the Leafs, when you've got Austin Matthews, I think that what they might try here against the Blue Jackets, and based off of some of what they've done, we'll see. Tonight is their first preseason game, or their one exhibition game, but there's been talks about doing a Matthews, Marner, Tavares line, and I really think that Marner is kind of he's the guy that you're going to use to get both those guys the puck. Like to me, it seems like he may be the piece on that line. If the three of those guys are together, he's the one who is going to make that incredible play to just leave someone else wide open. And you can play Marner. You can put Marner with anyone, and he makes everyone better. And he kills penalties. He can go on the power play. He's very multi-dimensional, which is why I have him slightly higher than Ovechkin. And it'll be fun. I think we might see his maturity come through in these playoffs, where he's now had 4 or 3 playoff seasons to go through, and now you come into your 4th playoff. Here's your chance to prove that you can do it. He kind of had a down playoff year last year, 4 points in 7 games, but I think that he's going to come in here and he's going to do something special. And I think that his speed will definitely play a factor there. So he's 5. At 4, I have Patrick Kane, who really is he's everything to the Blackhawks, and had a nice little season too. 8th in points, 84 points in 70 games with 33 goals. So he is everything to the Blackhawks, and so at number 4, I don't think there's any argument having Kane inside the top 5 for wingers, just in general. And then let's go. Also, my number 3 is David Pastrnak. So that's where I have my top Bruins winger sitting in number 3.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
With 48 goals. So pretty good season.
Not too shabby. Yeah. Number 3 for me, I've got Patty Kane. He's the offense in Chicago, and if they have any chance of getting out of these preliminary rounds, it's going to be because of him.
They don't have any chance.
Well, I'm not arguing with you there.
Sorry, Chicago Blackhawks fans.
Yeah.
We appreciate you. We love that you're in. I love that the Blackhawks are in the playoffs again. It's great.
Yes.
It's probably going to be the last time they're in the playoffs for another couple of years.
Yeah, you wonder if he's going to be the type of guy where some teams might take a peek at here, because he's still 31 years old, and you say, okay, I can still get
another 4 years out of him, maybe.
Yeah, 3-4 years. So maybe we try moving him so we can start a rebuild here again. But number 3 for me is Patty Kane, and then number 2, I've got David Pastrnak. Again, this guy is just phenomenal. There's a reason why Bergeron and Marchand, their offense, their point, their production all went up the same time that he showed up on this team, and it's because this guy, to me, is the one that drives this line. He's got such good speed. He's got such good hands, and he's only getting better as a goal scorer. I mean, 95 points, 48 goals. This guy, to me, is going to be an easy 50-goal scorer here for the next few years, and a guy who's going to compete for the Rocket Richard every year for quite a while. So for me, he comes in at number 2.
It's not talked enough that he is the 25th overall pick either. So there's not a lot of teams
not
missed on him.
Not too shabby.
Pastrnak, my number 3. I've got Nikita Kucherov at number 2. I think that he's just proven, like, he can do it by himself. He can do it with other people. He makes everyone better around him. He is phenomenal. I hope he gets it done in the playoffs, or else he's going to drop on my list. And then I think number 1, we both have the same likely MVP.
I'm hoping so. Maybe, yeah.
Artemi Panarin, his first year as a New York Ranger, he is the top winger to me going to the playoffs. He is truly, like, if he has a great playoff, the Rangers could win this first round, and who knows what they could do.
Yeah, and it's nice that they've got kind of a 1-2 punch going with, Zibanejad's line with Kreider, and then they've got Panarin to worry about too. Obviously, most teams are going to focus on Panarin, but you're going to have those times where you've got to worry about both lines. So who do you throw out where? And you can't double shift a top D-man now, because now you're going to get them a little exhausted, a little tired out playing these guys. So.
I'm so glad they held on to Kreider. I'm so glad they didn't trade him, because it just makes this round so much more fun. All right, well, there is our top 20 wingers in the playoffs. You can let us know what you thought. Find us on Twitter at OT Hockey Talk. Check out the top 20 centers. stay tuned for the top 15 goaltenders. We just couldn't do them all. That's just not fair. And then the top 20 defensemen later on in the week. And enjoy those exhibition games. We will talk to you guys soon.